The historical evidence for the life of Jesus is a subject of significant debate. While many scholars agree that a historical figure named Jesus likely existed, the specific details of his life and the events described in the Gospels are less certain. Here's an overview of the main evidence often cited, along with the limitations and challenges associated with it. 1. The New Testament Gospels, primary source. The four Gospels Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John are the primary sources of information about Jesus' life and teachings. Written between 30 and 70 years after his death, they offer a narrative of his life, but they are theological texts rather than objective historical accounts. Limitations. The Gospels are religious documents written by believers, so they're often considered biased and not purely historical. They were also written in Greek, a language likely not spoken by Jesus himself, and each Gospel has its own theological emphasis, leading to discrepancies between accounts. Authorship and dating. The Gospels were written anonymously, the names were attributed later, and are based on oral traditions. The earliest Gospel, Mark, is usually dated around 65 to 70 CE, well after Jesus' death, raising questions about accuracy and reliability. 2. Other New Testament writings. Paul's letters. Some of the earliest writings about Jesus are from Paul, whose letters were written around 50 to 60 CE. Paul's focus was more on the theological significance of Jesus rather than details of his life. His letters rarely mention specific events from Jesus' life, leaving historians with limited biographical information. Limitations. Since Paul did not personally know Jesus and only had a vision of him, his letters offer little about Jesus' life and more about the beliefs of early Christians. 3. Roman historians. Tacitus. The Roman historian Tacitus, in his annals written around 116 CE, mentions Christians being persecuted under Nero and refers to Jesus, whom he calls Christus, being executed by Pontius Pilate. This passage provides some corroboration of Jesus' execution under Roman authority. Suetonius. In the Lives of the 12 Caesars, Suetonius briefly mentions disturbances in Rome caused by followers of Christus around the same time, which some interpret as a reference to Jesus. However, it's unclear whether Christus actually refers to Jesus. Limitations. These accounts were written many decades after Jesus' death and are second-hand references. They don't provide details about his life or teachings and mostly acknowledge his execution and the existence of Christians.